Let's be clear, folks. Imperialism is not a good thing. It's about one country throwing its weight around, bossing others, and taking what it wants, like a schoolyard bully, but with more flags and fancier hats. The dictionary defines imperialism as the policy or practice by which a country increases its power by gaining control over other areas of the world. Sounds simple, right? Well, not so fast. You see, there's a certain hypocrisy at play. The West, particularly the US and Britain, loves to point the finger at others, accusing them of imperialism. Russia's often the favorite target these days, but if we take a closer look at history, well, let's just say things get a little awkward. Think back to your history classes, those dusty textbooks. Remember the British Empire? The sun never set on it, they used to brag. Why? Because they were all over the place, ruling over a quarter of the world. And America? They were no slouches either, expanding westward, often at the expense of Native Americans. So, before we start throwing around accusations, maybe, just maybe, we should examine our own backyard first. Just a thought. Let's rewind the clock a bit. The British Empire, that sprawling behemoth, was built on colonization. They sailed the high seas, planting their flag on every continent imaginable. India, Australia, large chunks of Africa, you name it, they claimed it. And what about America? They started their own land grab, pushing westward, displacing and often clashing with Native American tribes. Manifest destiny, they called it. More like manifest hypocrisy, if you ask me. The point is, both Britain and America have a long, complicated history with imperialism. It's a history they often conveniently forget when accusing others. Fast forward to the Cold War, a time of suspicion and paranoia. The US and Soviet Union, locked in an ideological battle, became masters of propaganda. And guess what? Accusations of imperialism flew like spitballs in a middle school cafeteria. Harry Truman, the man who dropped the bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, was particularly fond of painting the Soviets as the ultimate imperialists. He claimed they were hell-bent on world domination, a threat to freedom and democracy. But let's be real, folks. While the Soviets were no angels, the US was busy propping up dictators and intervening in other countries' affairs. Remember Vietnam or the numerous coups in Latin America supported by the CIA? Yeah, not exactly a shining example of freedom-loving peacemakers. Here's the thing about history. It's written by the victors. And the West has been pretty darn good at controlling the narrative. We've been fed a steady diet of Western exceptionalism, the idea that the West is inherently superior, morally righteous, and always on the right side of history. But it's time to challenge that narrative, to listen to voices from the global South, to acknowledge the perspectives of those who have been on the receiving end of Western imperialism. Academics, historians, and activists are increasingly questioning the dominant Western narrative. They are unearthing uncomfortable truths, highlighting the hypocrisy and double standards that have long plagued Western foreign policy. It's time to face facts, folks. The West's history is far from spotless, and until we acknowledge our own past transgressions, our accusations of imperialism will always ring hollow.